Welcome to Storyflix. In this video, we will explain Prince of Legend. This movie tells the story of two handsome and charismatic people named Kanade Suzaku and Shintaro Ando, who take part in a competition to become Prince of Legend in their school. Besides being handsome and smart, Kanade comes from a wealthy noble family, while Shintaro comes from a simple family but has a strong heart and high empathy. His followers admire and respect him, most of whom are gang members who control nightclubs. Kanade and Shintaro have completely opposite personalities, which makes them so respected by their respective supporters. So, who will win the competition and be crowned the Prince of Legend? Let's find out in Prince of Legend.
Kourin.
Prince of Legends tells the atmosphere in the most luxurious and popular nightclub called the Night Ring. The Night Ring became the target of several gangs who wanted to make the nightclub their base camp, including Texas, Tiger, Gotch, and Zenitsu. Shintaro is the leader of the Zenitsu gang, where he finally managed to control the Night Ring after defeating the other gang members, even his older brother. However, in the controversy, Shintaro had to lose his best friend and his best partner. Therefore, he decides to leave Zenitsu's gang and go alone to fight the Texas group responsible for the incident. After successfully defeating and controlling the Texas group, Shintaro recalled his followers from Zenitsu's group and merged them. Shintaro then changes the appearance of his followers to be like nobles because his dream since childhood was to become a rich noble. Since childhood, Shintaro, who comes from a simple family, has always dreamed of living a luxurious life like royalty. Therefore, he is now starting to try to make it happen with his club members, where Shintaro later changes his name to Dory and his followers, who also change their nicknames.
Dory.
After that, Dory meets the leader of the Gotch group, a man named Noah, who advises Dory to go to an elite high school, where students at the school often compete to become the sovereign of the world. The students who study there come from the nobility, the billionaires, and celebrities with abundant wealth and high social status, so they are taught that the common people are pawns that must be used to achieve their goals. Noah then said that if Dory managed to master the school and become Prince of Legend, then everyone would surely bow to him. However, Noah said that being the Prince of Legend is not easy because, at that school, there was Kanade Suzaku, who was the third generation of the Prince of Legend and led the school. Under Kanade's control, the school has added new buildings and expanded its scale so that Kanade's popularity has soared. Not only Kanade, but his followers are very popular and loved by women because of their good looks and privileges. Unlike the principal at the school, who has a strange and weird personality, bad rumors are often heard about him. After knowing all this, Dory became interested in surpassing Kanade and taking over the power of the school from Kanade's hands. Dory then gathers his followers to create a plan in which they secretly spread bad rumors about the principal. Dory's plan seems quite successful because the principal and the students immediately became restless because of the bad rumors spread by Dory and his henchmen. In addition to Kanade and his followers, there is a fairly popular and respected group called the Next, which recognizes Kanade's power. The group actually consists of 4 people, but one of their members, Kourin, disappeared without a word a month ago. The rest of the group didn't know the reason why he suddenly left and never came back, even though they have been together since junior high school and have never been separated. One day, after a month of missing, the Next is finally reunited with Kourin, who is currently Dory's follower. Dory and his followers arrive at Kanade's school and then impress the girls with their good looks and charisma, which seem so mature compared to Kanade and her supporters. As soon as Dory and his followers come to the school, Dory immediately reveals his purpose in coming to the school, which is to overthrow the principal, take the highest throne in the school, and then master it and make changes in the school according to his wishes. When Dory met the principal in his room and conveyed his wishes, the principal immediately rejected Dory's wishes. However, Dory remained diplomatic and said he would come back another time while he and his followers began to spread charms so that all the students and the teacher council there supported him to become the new sovereign of the school. The members of the Next group then approached Kourin and asked the reason why he left the group. However, Kourin acted like everyone else, as if he didn't know them at all. Meanwhile, ignoring the principal's warnings, Dory and his followers undertake various ways to take power at the school. Even now, Dory openly asks his followers to tear down the principal's monument, get rid of all the luxurious and expensive attributes belonging to Kanade Suzaku, which are displayed in a special room, and distribute flyers about what Dory will do if he is elected as the sovereign of the school. On the other hand, Kauki actually still remembered his friends in the next. But he seemed to have a secret that his friends didn't want to know. A helicopter appeared to be approaching and finally landed on the school soon after. The students already knew that the helicopter belonged to Kanade Suzaku. Kanade's fans immediately gathered to welcome him, the elegant and charismatic handsome prince who had defeated other prince candidates and succeeded in becoming the third generation of the prince of legend. Arriving at the school building, Kanade was told by his fans about Dory, who intends to take control of the school. The principal then pleads with Kanade to get rid of Dory and his followers. Hearing this, Kanade promised the principal that he would protect the school from threats from outsiders who intended to dominate the school for their own benefit. Kanade finally went to meet Dory and his followers, where Kanade was then very surprised that one of his trusted assistants, Seiichiro, had now sided with Dory. Whereas in the past, Seiichiro was Kanade's confidant. However, for some reason, now Seiichiro prefers to side with Dory and become his most loyal follower. After meeting with Kanade, Dory then expresses his desire to eliminate the current prince of legend, namely Kanade, and wants to lead the school and make the whole world 100% his. Kanade, who is determined to defend his position, then challenges Dory to a fight and determines who is more worthy of the Prince of Legends title and becomes the school's sovereign. Kanade and Dory then agree to fight to the fence because nobles often practice the sport. Before starting the match, Kanade told his assistant, Jen, about Seiichiro, who had betrayed him by siding with Dory. Kanade also thought that Seiichiro might have hated him, so Seiichiro decided to leave him. Whereas before, Kanade knew that Seiichiro really loved and admired him. Therefore, Kanade was determined to win the match and hoped that Seiichiro would return to him. To find out why Seiichiro chose Dory over Kanade, Jen, along with the members of the Next, then started an investigation regarding this, where Jen and the Next finally found out that Seiichiro, and also Kauki, had been helped by Dory, so they both swore loyalty to always been a follower of Dory. One night, one of the members of the Next Takato then went to a food stall and met the seller, which he didn't know was Kauki's mother. Another member of the Next Ryu, who saw this, immediately told Takato that the food stall seller was Kauki's mother, and Kauki had also left the house and her mother after joining with Dory. After knowing this, Takato went to see Kauki and joined Dory's followers without knowing his purpose. Knowing that Takato is now siding with Dory and betraying him, Ryu rushes to Takato at Dory's base camp. However, Takato still insists on taking Dory's side without telling why he decided to change direction and become Dory's follower. Ryu was annoyed and then left from there. On the other hand, both Kanade and Dory trained hard to prepare for the upcoming battle. After a fairly exhausting workout, Dory decides to take a break and entertain himself by having fun at a nightclub with his followers. Meanwhile, Kanade chooses to spend his free time playing the piano and singing songs that inspire feelings. Long story short, the day of the battle arrived. Everyone seemed so excited in the audience because they had been waiting for the match. Kanade and Dory then boarded the battle arena and prepared to start the match. Meanwhile, Takato saw a group of thugs coming to the food stall owned by Kauki's mother and making a fuss there. Takato, who saw the thugs, then rushed over there and beat them. One of the students who happened to see this then rushed to tell Kauki and Ryu about Takato getting into a fight with the thugs. However, because he feels that Takato and Kauki have betrayed him, Ryu is reluctant to help his best friends. Kauki then explained everything that happened, where it turned out that his mother almost closed her food stall because of debt and declining income. When Dory came to help him, Kauki decided to become a loyal follower of Dory to repay his kindness to himself and his mother. On the other hand, Takato and the thugs fight fiercely and Kanade and Dory, who attack each other for points. Kanade then remembered the moment they had together with Seiichiro when they were little, where Kanade always lost in a fencing match with Seiichiro, who knew his weakness. The duel between Kanade and Dory is getting more and more fierce. Elsewhere, Kauki, Ryu, and their friends rushed over to help Takato. After overthrowing the thugs, the next members began to straighten out the misunderstandings between them and were no longer hostile to each other. Kauki also finally reunited with his mother after being away from home for more than a month. Moving on to Kanade and Dory's fight, where they continue to attack each other and are determined to win the match. Now only 1 point remains, and whoever gets the point will be declared the winner. It turned out that before the match, Seiichiro had told Dory about Kanade's weakness. However, unexpectedly, Kanade had anticipated the attack, so he could avoid it to counter-attack and finally achieve victory. Even though Kanade has been declared the winner and successfully defended his title as the Prince of Legend, he does not necessarily act arrogant and still respects Dory. Seiichiro also feels guilty and apologizes to Dory because his strategy to defeat Kanade has failed. Even so, Dory didn't mind it at all and didn't blame Seiichiro for his defeat. After that, Kanade met Seiichiro and asked him to come back and become his confidant again. But Seiichiro refused, even though his tone sounded forced. Seiichiro then thanked Kanade and left him in tears. On the other hand, Kaoki and Takato decided to rejoin the next, and Dory instead decided to separate all his groups. Dory then meets Kanade, and they both realize that they are actually similar, despite having opposite personalities. Kanade thought that the two of them were like the sun and the moon, that only needed to shine in different places and not outperform each other because each of them had unique features. However, Kanade and Dory get into an endless fight where they both think that they are the sun shining in a bright place, and the film ends. The moral that can be learned from this film is that true friendship cannot be replaced by wealth and power, because one of the most beautiful qualities of true friendship is to understand and be understood.